Emily Carter lived and breathed details. Every morning she woke up with a list in her mind: color palettes, seating charts, floral arrangements. Her world was built on precision, and she found comfort in the order she created. As Brookhaven's top event planner, Emily was known for flawless moments, except perhaps her own. Her reputation was built on never missing a beat, always anticipating the unexpected, and making every event feel like a fairy tale come true. At 28, Emily was ready to make her wedding to Daniel Monroe her masterpiece. Every detail was planned: blush peonies, a string quartet, a historic estate, and a guest list curated to perfection. She wanted her own day to be the pinnacle of everything she'd ever created for others, and a dress that promised forever. The gown shimmered in the sunlight, a symbol of hope and the future she imagined. Daniel was handsome, ambitious, and seemed to fit perfectly into Emily's world. He said all the right things, made her laugh, and always knew how to make her feel special. To everyone else, they were the perfect couple. Their romance was a whirlwind: Paris proposal, shared dreams, and a future that sparkled with promise. Friends envied their chemistry, and their families toasted to a love story that seemed written in the stars. The wedding was weeks away. Everything was set, invitations sent, RSVPs counted, and every moment mapped out down to the second. Emily felt like she was living inside a dream she'd designed herself. She moved through preparations with joyful efficiency, weaving a seamless tapestry of love and happiness. Each day brought her closer to the life she'd always wanted, and she relished the anticipation that filled the air. But perfection is fragile, a polished surface that can hide the deepest cracks. Beneath the flawless exterior, tiny fissures began to form, almost invisible but impossible to ignore once seen. Emily was so in love with the idea of Daniel she ignored the subtle shifts: late nights, a guarded phone, distant smiles. She told herself it was just stress, that every couple had rough patches before the big day. Emily was an expert at seeing what should be there, at filling in the blanks with hope and optimism. She believed in happy endings, in the power of love to conquer all. But she was about to learn to see what truly was. Sometimes, the most perfect plans are built on the most perfect lies, and the truth has a way of revealing itself, no matter how carefully it's hidden. Suspicion crept in quietly, starting with Daniel's phone, always with him, always screened down. He took calls in another room, his answers always the same. "Just work," he'd say, flashing that quick smile. Emily accepted it, blaming work stress and wedding pressure. But the business trips grew frequent, and Daniel returned from one, distant and agitated, with a thoughtless keychain. Lucy, her bridesmaid, voiced her concern. Was everything really okay with Daniel? He seemed different. Emily defended him, blaming stress. But Lucy's words planted a seed of doubt. Even James, a close friend, noticed. Daniel barely looked at Emily all night. His head was in his phone. The final crack appeared when Daniel's phone buzzed with messages from Vanessa. Emily told herself it was nothing, just a colleague. But the knot of dread grew. The perfect facade was crumbling. She feared what she might find in the ruins. One night, certainty replaced doubt. Daniel slept soundly, unaware as Emily lay awake, her mind racing with suspicion and dread. The silence in the room was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of the city outside. With trembling hands, she reached for his phone, her heart pounding in her chest, every movement feeling like a betrayal of trust, yet driven by a desperate need for the truth. Emily tried Daniel's password. Her birthday, his birthday. Nothing worked. Her hands shook as she typed, each failed attempt tightening the knot in her stomach. Then she remembered the date of his seminar. It unlocked. Relief and dread washed over her at once. She knew she was about to see something she could never unsee. The messages with Vanessa were damning. Inside jokes, secret meetings, photos of them together. There were late-night confessions, playful banter, and a familiarity that cut deeper than any argument ever could. Each message was a thread unraveling the fabric of their relationship, exposing a world Emily never knew existed. "Can't wait to see you again. Last weekend was incredible." Emily read those words over and over, feeling the sting of betrayal with every syllable. It was as if the air had been sucked from the room. Daniel's replies were affectionate, passionate, words he hadn't spoken to Emily in months. The intimacy in his messages was unmistakable, a stark contrast to the distance that had grown between them. It was clear this was more than a fleeting mistake. It was a second life. The affair had started at the seminar, running parallel to their engagement. While Emily planned their future, Daniel was building memories with someone else, each secret meeting a betrayal layered upon another. Emily stared at the photos, Daniel and Vanessa laughing, kissing. Her world collapsed. Every smile, every embrace in those pictures felt like a knife twisting deeper. She wondered how long he'd been living this lie, and how she could have missed the signs. The love Emily thought was her foundation was a lie. The future she had imagined, wedding, home, family, suddenly felt like a cruel illusion, built on secrets and deception. She thought of her dress, the invitations, the guests. Canceling felt like defeat. She pictured the faces of friends and family, the questions, the pity. But she also knew she couldn't pretend everything was fine. No, the show would go on, but it would be on her terms. Emily wouldn't let his betrayal define her or dictate the ending to her story. But the grand finale would be one Daniel Monroe would never forget. Emily was no longer the heartbroken bride. She was the author of her own fate, ready to reclaim her power in the most unforgettable way. She would reclaim her story. The plan was set. The next chapter would be hers alone, written with courage, not fear. Over the next 2 weeks, Emily became a master of deception. She smiled at Daniel, finished the wedding plans, and hid her pain behind a flawless mask. Emily instructed Tyler, the AV technician, to play a new file at the reception, no questions asked. Tyler agreed without hesitation, offering a supportive nod. Emily confided in her brother James and best friend Lucy, showing them the evidence she had uncovered. Lucy was shocked, barely able to contain her disbelief. James was resolute, insisting Daniel didn't deserve to walk away clean. Together they became Emily's secret keepers and pillars of support. Emily refused to be a victim. The wedding would go on, but on her terms. Her plan was bold. Expose Daniel and reclaim her narrative. The vows would be of truth, not love. Emily would not slink away in shame. The stage was set for a different kind of finale. The wedding day dawned bright and perfect. Emily walked down the aisle radiant, her heart steeled for what was to come. Daniel mouthed, "You look beautiful." The hypocrisy chilled her. The ceremony was a performance. Rings were exchanged, vows spoken, a sham sealed with a polite kiss on the cheek. At the reception, after the toasts, Emily took the mic. She thanked everyone for coming. She asked Tyler to play the slideshow. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered, not with happy memories but with screenshots of Daniel's texts to Vanessa. "I wish it was you I was marrying." Then, photos appeared, Daniel and Vanessa, laughing, kissing. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The room fell silent, each image another nail in the coffin of Daniel's lies. The truth was there for everyone to see. The perfect wedding had become the perfect reckoning. Emily stood tall, unbroken. All eyes turned to Daniel, his face drained, his charm gone. The room, once filled with laughter and anticipation, now buzzed with disbelief. Every guest seemed to hold their breath, waiting for someone to break the silence that had fallen like a heavy curtain. Vanessa, exposed, tried to disappear as whispers spread like wildfire. Her cheeks burned with shame and she avoided every gaze, shrinking into the background as the truth unraveled before everyone's eyes. Emily took the microphone, calm and resolute. Her hands didn't tremble, her voice didn't waver. She stood tall, radiating a quiet strength that seemed to fill the entire hall. Emily revealed to everyone that the man she married that day had been unfaithful. She explained that she learned the truth when she least expected it and refused to start her life with lies. She declared that she deserved honesty, and so did all those who came to celebrate love. She announced there would be no marriage. Emily made it clear she would not pretend for the sake of appearances. On that day she chose herself. Still, the party was paid for. The food, the music, the laughter, none of it had to go to waste. Emily invited everyone to enjoy the food, music, and open bar. She encouraged them to turn the day into something worth remembering, not for heartbreak, but for courage and new beginnings. The event became a celebration of freedom, of choosing truth over comfort and self-respect over tradition. Guests were invited to dance, eat, and toast to the future. Silence followed, then applause, first from James, then Lucy, and soon the entire room. The tension melted away, replaced by admiration for Emily's bravery. Even some of Daniel's friends joined in, recognizing the strength it took for Emily to speak the truth in front of everyone. What could have been a day of shame transformed into a moment of triumph for Emily. The disaster became a rally for her self-respect. Daniel, humiliated, fled the hall with Vanessa close behind. Their exit was quiet, unnoticed by most, as the celebration continued without them. One guest whispered in disbelief, remarking that it felt like something out of a movie. The tension broke, replaced by joy and admiration. Guests hugged Emily, offering words of support and encouragement. Emily, once a bride to a lie, became a hero to her own truth. She stood alone, but not lonely, surrounded by newfound respect. She raised a glass, not to a failed marriage but to a future that was finally her own. The room echoed with cheers, and for the first time that day Emily truly smiled. Emily's wedding revenge went viral overnight, her speech shared, her courage celebrated. #Bride Revenge trended worldwide, her story resonated with millions. Emily became an icon of empowerment, refusing to be a silent victim. Messages of support poured in. Her business boomed, her reputation stronger than ever. She spent more time with Lucy and James, rediscovering true support. Emily poured herself into her work, now with a deeper understanding of what matters. It wasn't about perfect illusions but authentic connections. Emily saw her wedding day not as a disaster, but as a rebirth. She chose herself over a lie, discovering her true strength. Emily Carter had orchestrated her own liberation, and she knew with certainty her best days were just beginning.